Hello, guys. How have you been doing? This is Joseph from Joe Concept. I'm really sorry I've not been consistent lately. I've been busy with a whole lot of projects, so that's why I've not been online lately. But then I posted something a few weeks back. I think a week or 2 weeks now. I posted personal project, and I want to quickly show you a breakdown of how I made a few of those animations. So I'll just play this again so you see what I'm talking about. So this is the animation I was talking about. So I'm going to show you the tip on how I made the hook flipping and also the button on this part. You can see the way it goes. So I'm going to show you what I did and how I came about that. So I'm going to go to the top view and bring in the bone. So I'm just going to go to character and joints. So I'll move this joint, hold down shift and make it snap to this point here. So once I have this joint set, the next thing is to create another one, hold down control and hold down shift until it snaps to this point. In your own case, in your case might not snap to it. So but then the book I use is actually measured, so it's snapping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just place this here. So I'm going to have just one bone. And notice for your bone, there is a way I can split this. If you notice, if you go to your bone tool, there is a modifier for splitting, which is shift. So if I hold down shift, I can just split at every junctions that I want. So let's just say I'm going to split at here. I have one here. So I need to actually know the number. So let's just say I'm going to 1, 2, 3. So let's just split this actually. So I don't have one here. I have one here. I have one here. That is one way you can go about this. The other method is either by using, if you want to work with equal spacing, this one I'm just trying to check that. But if you want to work with equal spacing, what you will do is just select this bone, put it in a cloner. So if you hold down Alt and put this guy in a cloner object, more graph, cloner is going to be a child of the cloner object. So I want to move it along along X rather. So I'm going to just bring this Y value down and bring the X value backwards up to this place, so you can notice that is the value. So I don't want it to go by steps, so I'm just going to say endpoint. So this is going to be the endpoint. So I'll start adding this. So depending on how many bones you want, that's what you're going to have. So I think 5 bones are okay. So I'm just going to select this and hit C on my keyboard to bring up all these bones. Right, so I think I could still go with one more bone. So let's just make it 6 in total, so that the bending will be smooth. So I'm just going to hit C now. I bring all these bones, bring them out. So the next thing is I'll start adding them, making them a child. So this is the first joint. So I'll just bring this as a child of this joint. It creates a bone for me. So all these joints, when the joints are connected to another joint, you get a bone. So I'll do the same thing for these, start having all the bones created for me. So if I go to perspective view, this is what I have. So here comes the animation. So for this animation, it's quite simple. Like I said I wanted to have a control over how the flipping is going to go. So instead of me doing the automatic method, which I won't really have control, so I have to go through the manual. But the manual is very simple. You just need to understand the principle behind that. So first thing, I will go to the object, go to this coordinate and try and check the right coordinate to move. So I'm sure it's going to be along banking, but let's just try. If you check it, that's not it. Okay, so it's actually along the banking. So I'm going to rotate this guy along this banking. So once I know that's all, so I will just go to where I want the keyframe to start. So let's say I'm starting at 10, I'm going to keyframe this, and let's assume the animation will end at 25. So I'm going to bring this up, but I won't get to 180. If I get to 180, it's going to affect the book here. So I don't want it to just end up. So I'm just going to make this 178 thereabouts, or 179, so that there is a little bit of angle to it. So I'm going to keyframe that, and that is that animation. So if you check this, I have that. Okay, but now this looks very mechanical still, so I want to add that dynamics to it. So I want that fluidity to be added to that. So what I'm going to do is notice where this is starting from 10. So I'm going to hold this guy at exactly a frame after it. I'm going to hold the joint 1. So by clicking this, so before it goes, I'm going to be using the principle, follow-through principle. So the follow-through principle is what we use for tails and all that. So when an object moves, there's a little bit of hold before it follows the parent. So what I'm going to do is, for this, since I have held this at 11, I'll go 2 keyframes. I'm going to bring this maybe -5, so that it looks like it's still holding before it follows. You notice I ended at 25 for joint 0. So for joint 1, I'm going to go 2 keyframes after 25, which is 27. So I'm going to bring this to 0, keyframe that. So I'll do the same thing for that. So I'm going to go to where I started the keyframe for this. So I'm going to go to joint 2, hold that, go 2 keyframes upward. So I had -5, so let's say -10. You could still also go to -5, but depending on how curvy you want the bend to look like, so you could just choose a value here. But I think I'm going to go with -10, so I'm going to have enough bending. So the other one, for joint 1, I stopped at here, which is 27. So let me just add 2 keyframe 29. Bring this to 0, and that's that. So let's go back to from 15 where I ended there. So go to joint 3, hold that, move 2 keyframes forward, 1, 2, make this -15 because the last one was -10. So go to 29. For this 2, stopped at 29. So go 2 keyframes, 1, 2. Go to joint 3, bring this to 0. So that's how I'm going to go through. So I'll get back to this, select this, hold this, go 2 keyframes forward, put this at -20, hold that keyframe. So if you go back to joint 3, I ended there. So go 2 keyframes, go back here and bring it down. So for the joint 5, I'm not going to do that because that won't control anything. It's going to be at the tip. So I'll just leave that. So if you check this, I think I'll just stop my keyframe here. So let's just make this 40 to be the length of my timeline. So if I play through now, this is what you're going to have. You're going to have that. You can see the effects I was talking about. So you have that little bit of drag before it ends to that point. So I'm sorry about the noise you're hearing. So I quickly wanted to do this at the office. So you have this drag which you are having at this point. So that's how to do that. So the next thing is for the middle bend here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this and add a bend object. So just for the bend object, let us just check the right axis. So this is the right axis. So I'm going to bring this over to the object. You notice it's going to affect the object. So first off, let's keep the Y length. We're going to keep the Y length and fit this to parent. But then I know that this 0 is too small, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Then for this one, maybe I'll bring this down and also this a little bit down. So that will go up actually. this a little bit down, also down. So I'm going to move this to this position. So notice it's affecting this globally, and I don't want that. So I'm going to change the mode from this to within box. So it's only going to affect this within this box. All right, so that's how to do that. So I'm going to use this to confirm that. All right, so we have this. Okay, so maybe I would change this actually. So I'm just going to rotate this to this position. So instead of it stretching away from there, I want it to, so that I'll go to the negative side. All right, so that's what I'm going to do to this. I think this is a better way of doing that. So what I can do to this is to now animate that also. Okay, so by the time I join this, I'm going to see this animation. So let's just say as this object gets to this place, I want to animate this from this position. So let's just say at this point, I'll just keyframe that and move to this place and make it 0. So it goes back to, so this is what I'm going to have. All right, you won't really see the beauty of this now. By the time I start binding this to this, you're going to start seeing the beauty. So that's that. So the next thing, I'm just going to duplicate this and make this, call this the back cover. And so what I'm going to do to this back cover is just simple. Just rotate this 180 degrees, and that's what I'm going to have. All right. Okay, so we have that. So the next thing is I'll just quickly hide this for a moment. So let's quickly start binding this. So how to bind this is to select all the joints, hold down Shift or Control, select the object you want to bind it to. You go to character, command, then you see bind. So once we bind that, it's going to bind that to this geometry. So now if you play through, it moves the objects. Okay, so we have that. So I'm actually going to solve this in a moment. So we have this. So let's see this bend. So I will bring this a little bit down. Have that, and also bring this a little bit inward, so we don't have too much of the effect. So we have 8 and 26. So I'll do the same thing for this. 8, 26. So that will solve that problem. Okay, so but then you notice a problem. So if I go to NA, you see this edge here. I don't want this hard edge. The reason is because if you go to this what's it called, if you go to the skin object and just double click on this, you see that effect. So I'm having a sharp transition, so that's why we're having that effect. So we want to smoothen this guy up. So if I hold down, if I select this and hold down Control, select everything so that everything's selected. Normally what I would want to do is pick this one and go to Paint tool and start painting them, bringing it smooth, smoothing this guy and start smoothing this. But I don't have that time. So what I'll do is I'll select everything as like this, then smoothing everything together. So I'll just go to this once I have them selected. So I'll go to this and increase the radius, make sure I'm in smooth mode, and I can smooth everything together in one go. So I don't need to go start picking one object and smoothing that object. So I'll just smoothing everything together like this. All I'm doing is just dabbing on this to make sure I erase all this transition. So you notice that these are now kind of smooth things. So if that is correct, so you check that out again. So just start working on this and smoothing this again. Pick this one, smoothing this. So that's how I'm going to go through this to make sure everything is fine, don't have issues. But then you can just continue from your end and smoothing that, and that's how to solve that. So I'm just going to go through that. So if I bring this up, okay, so this is how I made this book animation. So I could just hide this and this. Okay, so I'm having this problem here. So I think the reason why this is showing through is because they are very close. So I'll just bring this book and move this other one a little bit here. Since the only animated part is just this guy here. So if you check this, this should look fine from here. And once it plays through, have that. So I'm still having a little bit of a problem somewhere here, this place here. So this is going into the deformer. So we don't want that. So let's still go to the deformer and reduce this until this particular one is resolved. So I think this is better this way. So what you could do is you could also put this in a subdivision surface. So here I'll just make this 1 and just to smoothen this object. So we have that. So that's how I did that part. So this is not working here. So I'll just get this out. So that's how this part was created. So the next thing is to talk about the button. So I'm just going to quickly go to this button section and quickly show you how I made this button. It's just a particular tag that I use, which is this. So I'm just going to close this tag and quickly show you what I did. All right, so I want to be able to select this button and move it down and up. Okay, so I need to know the length that I want for this button. So I want this button to be able to go down up to this position. So let's just say 3. I don't want it to go beyond 3 when you press it, and I don't want it to go beyond let's say 0.5 upward. Yeah, 0.5. So what I'm going to do is just undo that. So I'm going to add a tag to this, and it's a protection tag that I'm going to use for that. Just going to limit this. So if I right click on this, I go to Cinema 4D tag, you are going to see protection, or you could just select this object, bring up the commander by hitting Shift C. You have that, so you can just type protection. Still the same process, press enter, it brings the tag over to this. So I want to, right now I can't move this object because it is locked, it's protected. So instead of me locking the position, what I want is I want to limit the position. So the only thing I want to limit is only the y-axis. So I'm going to go to limits, click on this lock and choose limits, but I want to deactivate the z and the x. All right, so I only want to limit this, guys. All right, so that means, oh, okay, so we don't want to move along this guy, so I'm just going to put this at 0. So meaning I won't be able to move this guy along this x and also the y and the z, but I want to be able to move it along y, and the minimum for y is I'm going to go down, which is -3. So it's going to be -3, which is the minimum. So that means if I move down, it won't go below -3. Notice I'm still moving this, is not going below -3. All right, so we have that. So I'm going to zero out this to 0. then go back to protection. But for the maximum, I don't want to go beyond 0.5, which is a positive value. So what that means now, if I bring this up, it won't go beyond the 0.5. So I'm moving this, but it's not allowing me. And if I bring this down, this won't go below -3. So the reason why I'm having 3.5 is because I've already moved 0.5 upward. So that's why you have that. So if we get back to this, so let's just show you with this. Notice I can go beyond 0.5 and I can go below -3. Right? So that's how I limited this. So I'll just add that to this same guy. So if I go to this button G, the same thing goes. I can go below this, I can go beyond that. So that's just what I did to animate. So just animated this, and so let me just quickly show you the animation. This point for the alt, I'm going to keyframe this, and at 20 I'll bring it down to 3, keyframe that. So I have this held down for a moment. So let's just say it's going to be held down for this period of time. Then once you release, the rate at which it comes up is quite faster than the rate at which it's been pressed down. So I'll just come here, bring this up. So I want to create a bit of anticipation or jiggling. So I let it come up 0.5 and quickly come back to 0. So we can now start checking the timing for this. So if you check this, it goes down. Okay, so now the spacing is kind of too much. So I'll just highlight them, use this to squash them together. So I have that. So maybe I'll bring this close. Bring this close to this. Bring this to close. So let's see what this gives. So if you play, press down and release, you see that. So that's how I did that. Press down, released. So maybe I would actually let it stay for a long time before it's released. So maybe I'll bring this close. So let's see that. Press down, released. So we have that. So during the process, while this guy is pressed down, while it's here, I also want to press this guy down. So I'll just select this at this point. I'll keyframe this and let it get to this place and bring it to -3. Keyframe that. So if you check this, so I want both of them to be released at the same time. So at this point, I'm going to hold this also. Then at that point, where we have this, I'm going to go 0.5 and go one keyframe, bring it back to 0 keyframe. So if you check both animation now, so let's just stop at 23. So if you check this now, this is what we're going to have. Press down, see. So that's how I did that. I have this press down, both of them release. So you see that jumping a little bit, you have it goes up and comes back to the initial set. So the bounce, that is what brings the life to this animation. So you could just go through that. So that's how I did that. The other one is just moving in and rotating. So this is just what I wanted to show you, the tip on how I made the book and also this button. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a like and a thumbs up because it helps me a lot. And also if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe because I do tutorials like this every time. So do have a wonderful day and God bless you. Bye.